Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I wish I knew before I quit my 9 to 5 to go full time as a creator that I actually would not go back to a 9 to 5, because that was one of the things I said to justify myself was like,
oh, if anything ever happens, you could always go back to a 9 to 5.
It's been a little over 3 years and I could still end up going back to a 9 to 5. I have not completely ruled it out, but I think I thought it was more of a genuine option. But the reality in my circumstance was that as soon as I got a taste of what it was like to not sort of be working 40 plus hours a week, for an organization and having my life and my energy sort of dictated by the projects that I had due this week or the relationships with my coworkers and manager and budgets and timelines and project plans and trackers and meetings. The experience of spending most of my adult life in that frequency and thinking it was normal and having everyone I know be in a pretty similar frequency and thus kind of reinforce the normalcy of it, to leave that, it was such a radical experience that I couldn't have known because I had to do it to really feel it, right? And once you get a taste of something that is so radical, it is very difficult to go back. So when you're thinking about when the right time is, if the right time comes at all, to leave your 9 to 5 and go full in on your creativity, whatever that is, I think it's important to keep in mind something that Rick Rubin said. I haven't read his book yet, but I watched one of his interviews. Someone asked him about being a full-time artist versus having a job that supports your art, and he said,
I think dividing them is a really healthy idea. And that having a job that supports you so that you can be free in your art is ultimately what's best for the art.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to this idea of art being the most important thing in your life, it being the actual priority in your life. And if that's the case, then you need to do what you need to do so that you can have this authentic expression. But what I'm realizing after now 7, coming up on 8 years on YouTube is that the thing that you think may be your top priority might not actually be your top priority, especially if it was started as a hobby, as something you were just doing on the side. I'm currently learning guitar. I'm having so much fun playing it. I have no plans to ever become a full-time musician. It's just something I like to do for fun. Similarly with YouTube, I love the idea of being a full-time creator and making enough money from sponsorships and AdSense to have that be my dream. But the truth is that there are a lot of choices that come with making that a priority that when I was actually faced with making them, I chose not to. And I think these are big things and little things, such as thumbnails and titles and A/B testing and all these different things that you can do to make your videos really stand out. When you are really passionate and excited about something, you will do that research. You will get the products and the services and you'll figure it out and you'll fine tune and you'll tweak so that you can have something that really grows and resonates with people. But I know for me, I just wanted to have fun. I just wanted to have fun, talk my little 2 cents, maybe get some compliments, you know how I am, and call it a day, right? And so the energy to sort of take it seriously, I realized really wasn't there. As I've been involved in other creative things, so creative coaching and doing consulting and doing speaking and doing voiceover acting and all these other random creative things, I realized that they're all pretty fun, and actually my priority is really just doing my inner work. It's all the spiritual stuff. It's Christ consciousness and all these things. That's my top priority. And so everything else is ultimately second to me being able to do the inner work and do my process work and heal my trauma and do all these different things, right? You need to be honest with yourself about, okay, am I using this creativity as a way to escape this 9 to 5 I don't like? Or is this thing that I'm working on and creating actually my top priority? And so I need to think about what systems I have in place for myself to make sure I can give it all the time and energy that I think it deserves. And so I think part of the question to ask is what you need to feel safe. For me, I quit my 9 to 5 when I had about 10K in savings, and I had the I think guarantee is way too strong of a word. I had a potential other 9 to 5 opportunity. And so what I needed was just some sense that if I did leave my 9 to 5, I would be able to get something else, even if it was something that I didn't actually want to do. So I was looking into doing management consulting. And so even though I know my lifestyle and I know that I really don't want to have a single call before 11 a.m., you know what I mean? I don't know if I knew that about myself then, right? I needed the time off to be removed from that situation of 9 to 5 to understand how I really like to operate. But knowing who I am, the truth of who I am, it is really, really ridiculous to think that I was ever gonna work at Deloitte or something. But I convinced myself because I needed the sense of safety safety that came with, okay, if I do leave this thing, I can at least get something else. Not even just can, but like there's a really good chance that I will get something else. But then as soon as I was out, I realized the last thing I wanted to do was more work because I was in that state of burnout. And what's been so interesting has been in these last 3+ years, being more and more comfortable with change and insecurity, I guess you could say, because I've been able to do more of the inner work and grow that inner sense of security. And I think that's probably the biggest gift that leaving my 9-to-5 gave me, is I wouldn't have even known how stressed and how anxious I was in my body and in my life because it was normal and because a lot of the other folks I knew were operating on a similar frequency. It was kind of stepping out of that and being around people who have a different mindset and who look at the world differently that really helped me put my entire life into context. And I'm so grateful for that, because the times that I do connect with people who are still super plugged into a certain way of being, I can see myself in them and I can see how difficult it is to see outside of it. And there are times that I myself still find myself kind of getting trapped into these old ways of thinking, very like material, literal, physical, like already manifest ways of thinking. And my understanding of creation is that when something is physical in front of you, that's literally like the densest form, right? Like it's appearing solid to you, right? But the actual creation happened in a much lighter vibration because it all started as energy and ideas and light and vibration and all these things. And so to go from kind of operating in a certain level of density to intentionally, consistently raising my vibration so I'm more attuned to the word of creation. That's what I've been up to lately. This is like literally how I talk and think all the time. And these sentences would have made no sense to me, a few years ago. There's so many things in my life now that are so far out compared to what I used to believe and how I used to operate. If you're watching a video like this and there's a part of you that's wrestling with this question and really trying to figure out what's right for you, I think it's worth honoring the fact that part of you is saying, okay, I don't know if this is exactly where I'm supposed to be in my life right now. Something about this is not fully aligned. You wouldn't even be curious about making a change if you were super rooted and super solid in where you were. It's such a gift to be able to recognize when our life is calling us into a new chapter and into a new transition. The unknown can be very scary. And I think it's scary because we assume that things, if not could, but will in fact be worse. And the reality is that it could be a lot better if you're willing to let things be better than how they used to be. Just that pattern of looking to the past, looking to yesterday, looking to last week and saying, okay, I want tomorrow and a month from now and 5 years from now to be like how it was in the past. That's what kind of keeps us from growing and expanding. We're not actually being in our full expression. And that's what I believe our soul came here to do, is to truly be in its full expression. Another reason I'm really grateful that I made the choice to leave my 9-to-5 is because it helped me understand how many subconscious and unconscious beliefs I had that were driving me that I just didn't even know I was operating from. I watched this reel yesterday and it was about a woman talking about shame and how there's explicit shame and then there's the implicit shame, that more subtle shame. And she gave this example that I thought was so interesting about how when she went to school, math classes like that, those were mandatory classes, whereas things like art were an elective. And so if you're someone who is maybe more naturally called to do art, you're subtly being told that it isn't as important as math. And then of course the entire culture reinforces this idea that the safe, secure, valuable jobs are the things like math and science, whereas the less valuable ones are these liberal arts, And so there are all these subtle ways that we are sort of taught about what matters for us individually, what matters for us as a culture, and the importance to sort of fit into the mold of what's important so that we can survive and be happy and safe. And I think it's worth giving yourself grace for even considering stepping out of the box. What's at stake is not just a job or a salary or health insurance, but it's this very deep sense of belonging and of connection. And it's a big deal to go from having a place you go to every single day with coworkers that hopefully are good, lovely, beautiful people, non-toxic, hopefully, doing work that there's some clarity around it and you know exactly how your days are gonna go. To sort of step out of that and do something completely different, it takes a lot of fortitude and your nervous system is very much gonna be activated. Mine was anyway. I don't wanna speak over your nervous system, but I know for me, mine was very shocked to go from like a really intense, rigid, structured way of living my life to this like open field, and it felt very much like I was floating in space, I didn't actively practice gentleness with myself and compassionate with myself as much as I do now, I'll say. And I think if I had been more gentle with myself, I could have maybe eased out of the role, whether it was doing something like going part-time, whether it was saving more money, maybe even just doing some more inner work, doing some more healing work. Hindsight is always 20/20, so hopefully this video can help you on your journey. This is gonna be the topic of this week's Hello Creator Weekly Roundtable. It's a chance for creators to get together for an hour, Wednesday, noon Eastern time, and just have some fellowship and talk and share stories and exchange advice and all those good things. So if you're interested, you can register in the link below. For my creatives, if you want some one-on-one coaching, you can do a free 30-minute coaching call, also in the link below. And finally, thank you so much to my Patreon people. I really, really appreciate y'all. Y'all are the best. Love you, love you, love you. All right, bye.